Episode 9. It's been one of those days. So on this episode of the In the Mix podcast, we are focusing on our part 2 of talking about access and equity and how we as a company are not just, doing something without intention or doing something without a mission or a why. We have a reason behind what we're doing, and coffee is our product, right, but the impact is really what we're doing, right? We're coffee community connection, bringing the people in from the coffee and serving them the connection that they didn't even know that they needed. And through that, we're able to activate them. When people come through the doors, we're able to hear who they are, where they're at, what it is they need, and we're able to link them with, that service or that resource or that opportunity that they're looking for, whether it's something that we're able to provide them directly through our Slack ecosystem or through partners in the community that we know are doing great work. And so today we're talking about how we can look at social impact entrepreneurship as one of the lenses that we use when we think about the social issues that exist in our community and our approach to business, and how we're different than other businesses that are just profit driven, not thinking about the community in which they reside, not thinking about, the products and services that they're putting together. They're just thinking about how can we make as much money as possible and create, like a transactional environment. But for us, everything we do is through this lens of how we can affect the South Central community. And so why do you feel like that's important? Why do you think it's like a it factor, a special sauce for us?
Yeah, the bottom line is great, babe. The way you said all that. What happens is, and you said that whole transactional thing, companies come in and just rake money from they don't. I don't think my experience with big companies or corporations that come in, and not just I'll say some of the mom and pops are the same way, is they're just about getting that money. They don't care that they're in a community. They don't that has not been served well. They just, people are going to spend money, so let me just go in there, give them what I think they need, and not even be a part of the community. Just take the money from them, and it's enough of that. I feel, as a member of this community, I felt that kind of vibe in many places that I'd gone to in this community, and it's not cool. It's not necessary. So that was one of the big reasons that I wanted to have my own. Not only was it's sad that I had to go out of my neighborhood to get some of the accommodations. But when I did have something in my neighborhood, it was still not the people from the neighborhood that had opened the place. And I don't know.
Keep going, baby.
It's a sad thing for me. And people are waking up. I must say that we are starting to see change. We are starting people to come in like us that are caring about the community, that is concerned that, people want to be treated, with respect, not just take my money, engage with me, make me feel like you are a partner in my community. You know what I mean? Not just raking money from me. I don't know.
So what I'm hearing you say is it's about creating that like collaborative relationship with the community members, the people that you serve. We're not just here to be transactional. People come in, they ring their credit card, they get their coffee and they leave. It's about really immersing ourselves in the needs and the wants of the community and figuring out how we can align to that in our business practices, right, but also in our business collaborations and partnerships and what we can bring to them.
Right. And it's not that hard. That's the other side of it. It's like you can easily see what's needed in the community. And it may not be what you thought. and that's the whole point. It's get into the community, get in touch with it, feel what is needed. I mean, it was easy for us. We've been here, I've been here all my life. You've been here for the last 4 decades. So it was easy for us to figure out, especially especially like during COVID, it showed its ugly head, like it stuck its little ugly head out, in the sense where when we were signing up for vaccines, I remember, man, I was driving with you. I was like, this is crazy. When I saw the lines, we're signing up for just a vaccine. And the access to it was in the community. The places were set up in our community. And then when I went in my community, it looked nothing like my community in the lines. And the people in my community weren't able to get vaccines because they were being taken by people outside of this community because they had access, because they had computers or they had knowledge or whatever. And the people that are right around the corner weren't getting a chance. So what we decided to do is we saw that need and said, hey, you know what? We're going to make vaccines available right here. And it's not going to require all that signing up on the computer and doing all that. It's going to be, you can walk up and get a vaccine.
Right.
So anyway, that's one example of one of the things that I'm talking about, that just know what's here. Now, were we a coffee shop that opened up to give vaccines? That wasn't our intention. But we were a
coffee shop that opened up to be
help the community.
Service to the
but I'm saying, I'm showing people or saying to people, that's an example of it. You don't have to be like us or have opened up to do what we're doing. You can jump in. You can jump in now. You're the donut shop on the corner. I mean, you could help. You don't have to just sell a donut behind a glass window and say, get out of my store after you get the money.
Right. Let me give some examples of ways that people can think about what we've done, but also what maybe they could do or what they could ask for or expect from the businesses that they patronize. Because, part of this is we're doing it for ourselves, but we're doing it to create a model, whether it's the community-centered business model, or in this case, we're talking about social entrepreneurship and impact. How are we bringing that into what we're doing? But by us testing it, trying it, doing it for ourselves, we're able to show other people this can be done too. Right. And not just on a local or a small business level, it could be done on a corporate level, right? And how can you unpack some of these things and take it to a corporate level? So it's like as simple as, thinking about what are the types of, cups and containers that you use, right? Knowing that, these are predominantly usually plastic containers, single-use containers, right? So for us, we've made a commitment to using compostable products, right?
Yes,
now, of course, that is more expensive. And I understand for a small business, that's a consideration, right? Can they afford that? But we would encourage them to do it because sometimes people don't understand that you can make up the costs in other areas, right? That maybe are not as significant or not related to impact.
You get 100 extra customers just because you're doing.
Well, that's what I was going to say is doing good is good for business, right? You can quote me on that quotable. Doing good is good for business,
right?
Or is good business. And so you got the compostable cups, right? You're hiring locally, people, you're hiring at a living wage, which we're going to get into more when we talk about the Cafe Academy. So don't go off on a tangent with that. Save the stuff about employment for our employment approaches for the next piece of this. But, really wanting to think about looking at, how are you structuring your pricing? Is there pieces of that you can say, maybe we charge a little bit more than, the average person that's offering this service, but there's a reason why, right? And we can get into that with our coffee with the cause and related to our coffee beans, which we'll use as a call out example coming up soon. But, you're always wanting to look at the ways that you can say, something that you're doing is going a little bit further, is having a ripple effect beyond just profitability or beyond just providing a product and service, but how does it go further? How does it create a vibration that goes further and impacts people in a positive way? I think that sometimes people hear about the things that we're doing, and while they'd love to like be like us, it's also intimidating because it seems really like, oh, I'm going to do a food distribution and feed, 1 million people. Like, I'm not capable of doing that. Right. But you could, you could say, here's our menu, but 5% off for people who are from the local zip code, or we're going to do every fourth Friday, we're going to have local vendors set up outside, right? Just things where you can think about how is it just adding and enhancing to the product and service that you're offering, so that it's not just this transactional thing, but it becomes something where people want to come to your shop. They want to support what you're doing because they see it as a win-win, where yes, they're supporting you, but as a result, you're supporting them, which it gets back to the community-centered business model. Putting the community at the center of the business intentionally makes it where you're at the center of the community's thoughts, and you become not just something that they'd like to have, but something that they have to have or they want to have. And so it's like thinking about how those things work together. But in particular, I'd love to talk about our our coffee roasting program. This is another example of, we started off working with Red Bay Coffee, and they're an amazing company. They were so good to us, and they, really helped us when we were first opening up, and, we're sort of rookies in the coffee game, and they, are great roasters, Black owned, family owned, amazing couple that runs the company out of the Bay Area. And we started initially with their coffee, and it was fantastic. Right. And at some point in time, we started thinking, okay, our brand, our company is growing, our footprint is growing. Let's start looking at what does it take to roast our own coffee. And when we went down the pathway to learn about that, we saw all the different options, and we got really excited about one particular option was working with our current roasting company that is our partner in that, which is Bellwether Coffee, and getting one of their completely 100% emissions free roasters.
Plug and play.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing that's so cool about it is, and I don't have the statistics right now, but there's like thousands of pounds every single month of carbon emissions that we are not putting out into the universe, right? So typically when you're roasting coffee, it's like everything else, it's burning fuel and, power, and, there's emissions attached to that. And so it's not the cleanest thing in the world to do. And it does have a negative footprint on the environment. And here we are in the middle of South Central Los Angeles. Our community already faces higher levels of pollution, high heat days because there's not, as many trees. Right. And so we actually are facing environmental racism right here in South Central Los Angeles. So we knew when we made the decision that we could go down the traditional roasting path, or we could go down this really exciting new direction around green technology and be on the forefront of that conversation of, here we are, a little shop in the middle of South Central LA with this amazing machine that we just plug in, and, there's a process to roast the coffee, of course, but it's literally like an all-in-one. Here I'm giving Bellwether a commercial for their product. We don't get any commission off of sales of this of this machine, but you've taken the lead with the roasting. So can you tell people a little bit about that and what the process is? Whatever comes to mind. It's
revolutionary. It's being the Black man that I am. Often we are not the manufacturers or something. We're usually the buyers. We're usually, and sometimes we're wholesale and we have businesses, but not enough where we are actually taking the product, manufacturing it, and turning it into something that could be used for wholesale. That's rare for us. So when this opportunity came, I was beyond excited. I felt just like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, I'm going to be roasting my own beans from the green bean to, I hadn't even taken it back that far. And,
well, and just to say on that, the beans that we're utilizing come from
black and
Peru
brown.
and from Brazil. They're coming from, what do you call it? Co-op farms, where we actually know the people who are making the beans. They're getting paid a living wage for their community. It's being done with equitable practices. Right. So we can go all the way back to the original source of the beans and know from, what do they call it? Like the vertical integration of all of the components of getting, the seed that's being planted, the beans that are being sourced, then are getting shipped to us. They're come green, come in big burlap sacks, to the cafe. Then you're receiving them and then you're putting them in the machine. And now I know you have a few people that you're training up so that you're not going to be the only people doing that. But I just wanted to make sure that people understand that's an example of social impact entrepreneurship. Right. Is we could say, where can we get the cheapest beans?
And we could.
And we could get them cheaper, but then we wouldn't know where the people that were, on the farms being treated properly, were they getting paid well? Are they using pesticides? Like, what's the source? And so for us as a company, that's always something that we're looking at, is that ripple effect of the impact of what we're doing. This
was so in line with us. When this came along, it was so in line. All of those things you just said, it just fit right into what we were doing. So I was so happy to just get started. When we first got the machine, do you remember? Because it could produce a lot. I mean, you have a full-time person working on it, you can get an awful lot of beans out of it. It's not like the hundreds of pounds that they cook with the big roasters and put out all the bad emissions. But we weren't at that level. We weren't just a bean selling company. So I wasn't worried about that. But when I saw the numbers that I could produce with this machine and how much it costs, I went, oh my God, we're going to need, we're going to need some people buying wholesale from us. We're going to need some contracts. And I think literally, and we had been working with people already to try to close deals. And literally the day that was delivered, we closed the Hollywood Bowl.
Yeah. So let's just back it up a second, because one thing we're skipping over is that we're able to produce our own retail packs of coffee. So
most important.
Yeah. So I just want to make clear, because people listening may not be familiar with coffee in general and all the different ways that, you can roast beans and how they get used. But the first thing was the literal coffee that we use on a day-to-day basis in our cafes. We have our Peruvian coffee that's being utilized for our drip coffee and our cold brew. It has a little bit of a stronger, powerful flavor profile.
Right.
That we really wanted to make sure that our house coffee and our cold brew have a little, good. Have that strong punch that people are looking for. And then for our espresso, which is, we're pulling for our lattes, our shots of espresso, we're utilizing our Brazilian coffee on that. And so, but just in the first place, being able to replace the coffee that we're sourcing from somebody else and be able to roast it for ourselves, and now have all of our coffee shops be fully stocked at any time with coffee beans that we don't have to outsource from any other vendor, that was able to take our overall margins down, or increase our margins, I should say, and of profitability, that then allows us to have more room to take some of that profit and reallocate it towards some of the other aspects of impact that we're trying to have. And you were going to say something on that.
No, I was just saying you left one out. The decaf is from Guatemala.
Oh yeah.
So it's just, we have tested this stuff too much. Well, never too much, but we've gotten it where it's. That's why when you come in here and go, this is a good cup of coffee, it is absolutely so fresh. Yeah. That's the other side of it. There's no 2-week process of our beans. You getting the beans that we just roasted
3 days ago.
Yeah, you have to let them sit for a while, but as early as, 3-4 days old.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's you're not going to get fresh coffee like that, and you're getting the same level of coffee, and we're not burning it. You don't have that burnt taste. We we roast it like it's supposed to be roasted.
Right, because again, you and I are more business generalists, people that have a lot of overall general business management experience, business strategy experience that we can apply to any business, right? And coffee was our new venture. Going into having a coffee shop and learning about coffee was our new venture. And one of the things that you and I see eye to eye on is we wanted coffee that had universal appeal,
right?
And again, there's plenty of people that are probably like, way more knowledgeable in coffee than us. And they have, all these little things
That's
that they're
why
like,
we have a lot of mentors.
We have a lot of mentors and we have a lot of people on our team, like Lenisa Williams, that have more coffee experience than us,
right.
And that they're specialists, right? And she's able to, give us feedback and help us, dial in the flavor profile and all that kind of stuff.
Business savvy that we give to her.
And we have business savvy and all that. But so on top of the coffee beans that we're able to just use at the cafe, then the cool next thing was we're like, oh, we're able to actually create a bag of coffee and put our beans in it, seal it up and have it both in the coffee shop, but also online, now an e-commerce platform where we're able to have the coffee available, southlacafe.com.
Selling like crazy.
Go to our online store on our website and just buy coffee. So wherever you are around the country, you can get our decaf, you can get our decaf is called King and Western, you can get our universal drip and espresso blend, which is our for the people. And, we have it in the 2 bags, right?
And understand, we talked about that impact, that you're making an impact you're getting delicious coffee delivered to your house. You can buy it online. You don't have to come to the shop. We'll send it to you. And you're also knowing 10% of that is going back to the community.
Well, that's the impact. That's the thing is, so on top of that, with the bags, when we were thinking about how we wanted to be able to stand out in the marketplace and also bring through that thread of that access and equity lens that we wanted to have around social impact entrepreneurship was, how can we make this bag really stand out and make people want to grab it, want to purchase it, want to feel good about it and tell people about it. That's when we put in the bottom on the bag. It says 10% of the profits go to fight or eradicate hunger in South LA, right? So we created this like funnel where we're able to drive sales into the coffee, pull out profits from those sales, be able to reapply them into our foundation, our nonprofit foundation, and be able to utilize those funds to put into our food program for the grocery giveaway. And so the more people who buy coffee, the more money we're able to get to go into feeding people in the community. And that's another layer of sort of the stacking of all of those pieces of thinking when you're starting a company or when you're developing a product or developing a service of
how can it impact?
How can it impact and how can all these pieces go together so that it layers together? And then on top of that, again, we'll talk about this in the next episode about the Cafe Academy, but it creates jobs, right? We're able to now, we have a coffee roasting division. Right. And,
we have a coffee department.
We have a coffee department, excuse me. And like you said, you're our lead negotiator for our team and you always are going to get that great opportunity and close the deal for us. And one of the things that you were able to do when we got the contract with the Hollywood Bowl, which we'll talk more about all of those great things and details in the future. But we've been so excited and blessed to be able to open up a coffee shop on site at the Hollywood Bowl, the iconic Hollywood Bowl. And one of the things
that sells those roasted beans that we do ourselves.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
They sell the roasted beans, but wanting people to understand the concept of wholesale. And so that in terms of us having a coffee division or a coffee department or a coffee company now, we are able to offer coffee beans wholesale. And so that means basically that we create this product, we create the beans, we deliver them to whoever wants them, and they are going to sell them to others on a retail basis. So they have customers who are coming in who are buying from them, or they have catering clients who are saying, we want coffee.
Local caterers use our coffee. Some of the local restaurants are now buying our coffee. So it's.
And what I'm saying though is that they are buying it to resell it.
Right.
So the wholesale thing is we make it, we sell it to them at a price where we've been able to put, our own profit margin in there, that covers the cost of the roasting machine and covers the cost of, employing people and covers all these things. And then make sure that we have a nice bottom line for our coffee division that we can reinvest into, more equipment. They are able to take it and then they're able to sell it, whether it's the bags themselves, whether it's the coffee beans, they're able to sell just drip coffee to people. But at the Hollywood Bowl, now we've been able to provide all of the coffee beans, all the wholesale coffee beans that they need, not just for the catering, for the concessions, for the restaurants, and even now expanding into the Ford Theater as well. So, and that's where we came up with this tagline of coffee with the cause, right? So I think that, that really lit you up to talk about, coffee roasting and, the social impact that we have through the entrepreneurship that we do around coffee. And in addition to that, the people that we're able to employ and, that we're not just looking at, the product and the profit, but we're looking at the people and the impact that we have in there as well.
Yes.
And in addition to that, we have things where we have within our foundation, we also have our impact accelerator and our business incubators, that are focused around women in the community and women leaders and founders that are also doing innovative work and on the forefront of this impact entrepreneurship. And we're able to bring them into the fold and provide mentorship and support and a community building for them. And we've had all these amazing women in business events in the last couple of years where we've been able to recognize people who are bridging this gap of, there's a problem, there's a solution, and how do we put those pieces together and create an actual business model around it? One thing to say on top of that is, when people are thinking about developing their businesses, even if you're a small business, there's things like becoming a B Corp, which is a certification that you receive that makes it so that you're able to say to the world, I'm a B Corp, which means it's equivalent to a company that has a commitment to doing certain level of social impact entrepreneurship and certain standards. And in addition, we just got a certification as becoming a certified social enterprise in the city and county of Los Angeles as well. And the cool thing about that is that basically gives us the opportunity to apply for grants, apply for funding, apply for certain programs that are earmarked exclusively for companies and organizations like ours that are doing more than just providing a product and a service, but they're actually thinking about the bottom line for the community and how the work that they're doing can have that impact in the community.
Key words today keep coming up. Impact. To the community. Impact.
So as we close up this episode talking about the third focus that we have around access and equity for South LA Cafe, which is about social impact entrepreneurship, any key takeaways or things that even today that came up for you that you feel maybe you didn't think about before or that you want to make sure other people are thinking about?
Well, it kept coming up today in the conversation. You kept saying it. You said it about 10 times. Impact in our community. That's what I'm getting out of this session today is impact to the community.
Drink some more coffee.
Long morning, folks.
Drink some more coffee.
So you did a lot of the talking in this session, if y'all noticed.
No, you got really lit up when we were talking about the coffee, though.
Yeah. The coffee roasting is a big deal. It's a big deal. And it had not only an impact in the community, but it had also huge impact in our business. It changed the game for us. I don't know. Who told us about that? Do you remember? Like about who suggested that?
It might have been Lanisa.
I think so.
Yeah.
'Cause she said they were coming to the convention or something.
Well, I think one of the things that you could close up with is that you were sharing with me about how you're feeling like there's this full circle moment with Red Bay.
Oh yeah, it's funny how just as life has it, we're so in line. That's why we like them so much. And here we were using the bellwether system, and now I see that they're using it. Can't say it was because of us or not, but it's interesting that it just keeps checking off the checklist at why they're so in line with us.
Yeah. And I think that it just shows that we're lock in step. Like you said, we have similar values, similar business models, and there's something to it.
They got 10 of them though.
They got 10
so
of it.
They're roasting big
I think
time.
they got a big fat grant. We got to start going after some grants. So, if people are listening in and they have access to any grants or any funding that they want to help support us in expanding our coffee roasting company division, we'll
we haven't even talked to them about that yet. We that's a call. I'm going to talk to them next week.
All right. Good to know you're going to talk to them next week. Well, I think that my main takeaway from all of this is that, really sitting at home and thinking about when you're starting to think of creating a business, thinking about how doing good is good business. And, so I tell people all the time, all my adult students, if you were your client and you were sitting at home in the middle of the night, sort of laying in bed, concerned about things in your life, what is it that is the pain point that you would, almost pay anything for somebody to solve for you? Mm-hmm. And so when you're thinking about creating a business and you're thinking about what should I create? Who is it that I'm going to serve? What should I put out into the world? How about linking that to actual problems that people are struggling with and social issues that need your support? There's so many things that you can come up with where you can put a hook, a little tagline, a little extra something in there that, like I said, it's doing good is good business because, as long as you're not doing it from a performative capacity, right? It's like, it has to be something that you actually really care about. And I'm going to say a little anecdote here that I hope that it's okay that I say. I'm not going to name any names, but one of our friends that is a fellow parent, our kids, are in sports together. Right. And he's this brilliant engineer. And he has for 20 years, he's been doing tutoring programs for kids around math. And they've been having a gap in their performance in math, right? We all know that kids across the board can struggle in math, but in particular, Black and brown kids and kids from lower income communities really can have a big learning gap when it comes to math. And so I've been just talking to him about his business model. I can't ever stop talking to people when I hear that they have a business. I get so excited.
Especially something as great as that.
Yeah. And something as great as that. And even our daughter, has now signed up for his program because she was having some challenges in one of her math classes and she wanted to make sure that she got her straight A's. And so I've been learning more about his program. I've been learning more about him. And I'm just like, God, this guy is so impressive. And so, I just offered to him, hey, if you need any help, if you need any feedback on stuff, just hit me up. And so we've just been having a few phone calls here and there where I'm just offering him sort of my free coaching and all that stuff. And so we were talking the other day and he said, Celia, I'm really I'm ready to try and put this out in the private sector. I've been working with the school system with LAUSD, but there's some challenges with the funding going on there right now. And I would like to get this out the marketplace and get, regular parents, to sign up for it. And I said, well, your prices are great. Your product and service is great. I said, what I would venture to guess your challenge is in marketing. And I say, one of the number one downfalls for almost all businesses is their marketing. There's a million things that I can unpack on that. That's a whole nother class.
That's a whole nother section.
And he said, oh yeah, you're right. Marketing is the area I struggle in. And I said, well, to me, it's a no-brainer. I mean, there's certain things, of course, you need to have in place and all of that. But I was like, I pretty much think you already have the website. You already have, the product, services, the sales page, And I said, but, tell me more about yourself. What's your why? Like, why are you doing this? Yeah. And he said, well, I was a really bright kid. I grew up in a predominantly Black and brown, lower income community color. I was super bright. I ended up going to a college that was predominantly all white college. I was the only, Black kid in my class. I took all these engineering classes. I went on to, become an engineer, but that experience of being in a predominantly white institution and being the only Black kid in the class and engineering classes and math classes and people looking at me like I didn't belong here and, and me feeling so lonely and isolated and all of that. I decided when I created this program, mentorship program to help kids with math, that I was going to make it so that when they got into the position that I was in, that they weren't the only Black kid in the class. Wow. Right. And I was like,
it's a nice why.
Yeah. And I was like, do you have that on your website? And he's like, no. And I was like, dude, this is your special sauce. This is your story. And I said, and
you talk about it.
And I was like, and are you marketing your program towards Black and brown students and their parents and talking about this gap that exists in the schools with the performance for Black and brown kids in math classes and the gaps in representation in engineering programs? And he was like, no, I was advised not to even talk about that and to make it that my programs were for everybody. Right. And I'm like, I'm like, okay, well, the exciting thing is that you have a great opportunity in front of you to do this now. And me hearing you talk about your why, I'm like so compelled. Like I want to shout it from the mountaintops and be like, you guys, you need to sign up for this program because you need to get your kids into that. And now that I'm thinking about it, this was not on purpose, you guys, but when we do launch this podcast episode, I'm going to make sure that the link to his tutoring program is in the bio, because I'm sure there's people who are listening who are like, oh my God, I'm looking for that for my kids right now. So I'm going to inadvertently give some business forward, but that's what we do. We pay it forward. Right. Yep. And so anyhow, as I'm wrapping up this episode, I'm telling this story to just say, doing good is good business. And in his case, by having this mission, having this why, and for those who are starting to think about having a business or growing their business, making sure that why is at the heart and soul of what you're doing. And it has that mission, it has that impact. And then
let people know. And by doing all of that, you have such a stronger chance of having sustainable success. And so that's my lesson as we close up this episode talking about access and equity. Social impact entrepreneurship is one of the strategies and one of the tools and one of the focuses that we've always had and that we think makes a difference in the space. Yep. I agree. Yes. Good job. All right. Very good. It's a wrap. Hey fam, if you're hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode of the In the Mix podcast. And for that, we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We hope you enjoyed this new episode. And if you did, please take 1 minute to hit the subscribe button to catch all future episodes. And then please give us a 5-star review. Also, if you want to support our Black and women-led multiracial movement to fight social, economic, racial, and food inequity, please head to our website, southlacafe.com, where you can become a monthly member, sponsor groceries, volunteer, buy merch and coffee, and make a tax-deductible donation. Sending you lots of peace, love, and blessings from our family to yours.